Hi, and welcome to the My First with Marley Bird. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make the Slouchy Unisex striped hat. This is a great hat for man or woman, and it uses the very unique reflective yarn by Red Heart. This pattern is by Heather Ladinsky and is available for free on redheart.com. With this video, you will be able to begin with your chain stitches, work all your single crochets and half double crochets, learn how to change colors and do striping, and then weave in your ends. With all of that, there will be nothing stopping you from completing this super cute hat. So go ahead, go to redheart.com, download your pattern for the Slouchy Unisex striped hat, join me back here and I'm going to get you started. You have your pattern and you're ready to get started. The first thing you need to notice is that there are a couple of sizes available for you. You need to decide which size you want to make and go ahead and use a highlighter and highlight that size. There's the number outside of the parentheses and the number inside the parentheses. Whenever you come to two numbers in the pattern with one outside and one inside parentheses, you will always want to highlight the same number you highlighted up here. So let's say we are going to highlight the number 19.5, so the number outside of the parentheses. When I come down here to round 1, I'm going to make sure I highlight that number 7 because it's outside of the parenthesis, and I'm also going to make sure I highlight that number 7 because it's outside of the parentheses. This is a really good habit to get into as far as making sure you're using the right numbers throughout the entire pattern. Once you've done that, let's get our yarn and our hook. So I'm going to set this pattern aside and grab my yarn and my hook so that we can get started. Just like any crochet pattern, we want to begin with a slip knot. So I have the tail of my yarn in the palm of my hand. I'm going to take my working yarn, I'm going to wrap it around my forefinger and my middle finger and come back up. When I come back up, I want to cross over and I'm going to turn my hand. When I do that, I can take my hook, go underneath the one in front, and grab the one back and pull it underneath. I'm going to take my two fingers out and pull the tails. All I need to do now is separate those two tails apart, and it tightens that slip knot directly onto my hook. Now I can go ahead and begin with my chain 2. Now we're going to chain 2 for either size here, so I'm going to go ahead and chain 2 stitches. Now the instructions state that they want us to put single crochets into the second chain from hook. I'm going to go ahead and put 7 single crochets in here because, as I mentioned before, I'm going to do the number outside of the parentheses. And a single crochet is really easy to complete here. I've already completed 2. I have a loop on my hook and I'm going right into that second chain, yarning over my hook, and I always want to go over my hook just like this. Pull that yarn over through that chain. So now I have 2 loops on my hook, yarn over, and then draw through those 2 loops. I want to do that one more time. Go into that same chain, yarn over your hook, pull that hook through that chain. So you have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, and draw through 2. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches on there. I'm into the same chain, yarn over, pull up a loop. You'll notice that every time I pull up a loop, I adjust my hook so that way those loops go to this part of my hook, because that is the part that makes the size of the stitch that I want, okay? So I always want to make sure I'm not leaving my stitches down here on the throat. I want to bring it up here, okay? I yarn over and I draw through 2. Into the same chain, all of these are into the same chain. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2. Same chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2. Let's count. Now when I count, you can see these V's on the top of my stitches here. Can you see those V's? How those stitches look like V's? I'm counting my V's. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have completed 7 stitches. Now it says we want to join with the slip stitch to the first single crochet. So the first single crochet is right there. It's that first V. Can you see the V? So I'm going to take my hook, I'm going to go underneath both legs of that V. Can you see how I'm underneath both legs? Yarn over, and I'm going to pull my hook out, and I have 2 loops on my hook. I'm going to pull the front loop through the back loop. I've just joined with a slip stitch, so now I have a piece that is in the round. And it's time to move on to round 2. We go ahead and we chain 2, 1, 2, and this counts as the first half double crochet here and throughout, which means after this round is complete, we're going to join with the slip stitch into that second chain we just created. So to make sure I know where that stitch is, I'm grabbing a stitch marker and I'm just putting it directly into that chain right now, okay? I'm putting my stitch marker into that chain because what that is going to do is tell me when I get back around, oh, okay, that's the stitch I want to work into right there, okay? So I've done my chain 2, and I'm going to do a half double crochet in this same single crochet I joined with my slip stitch. So for a half double crochet, you yarn over your hook, go into that same stitch, yarn over your hook, pull up a loop, so I have 3 loops on hook, yarn over, draw through all 3 loops. So essentially, because these 2 chains right here count as a half double, and we've just done a half double, we've done 2 half doubles into that 1 single crochet right there, okay? Now it says I want to go ahead and do 2 half double crochets in the next single crochet. So I'm going to work increases this entire round in each stitch. So I'm going over to the next V, there's my V, I've yarned over my hook, go in, yarn over, pull up a loop, so I have 3 loops on hook, yarn over, draw through all 3. Yarn over my hook, go into the same stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through all 3. I've reached the end of my round, I think, but I'm going to go back and count just to make sure. I know that this counts as 1 where my stitch marker is, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I have 14 half double crochets. It's important that you do count like that because it's very easy to accidentally work an extra half double crochet into that last stitch right there, that last space that looks like a stitch when it's really not. So I always go back and I double check my count. So because I'm working with the number outside of the parentheses, I have 14 half double crochets. I'm going to join with a slip stitch into that marked stitch. So look how easy this is. I just put my hook right into the stitch that's marked, yarn over, pull up a loop, and pull that loop all the way through. So I've created stitches that are in the round, and we are going to continue working like this, working increases exponentially until the pattern tells us to stop doing that. So I've just chained 2. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to grab a different stitch marker, a new one, just so you can see how these work. I'm going to put it into the second chain from hook, just like I did before. Not in the second chain from hook. The second chain I completed because it's the chain that I'm going to join into when I finish this round. The instructions for round 3 say to go ahead and do a half double crochet into the same stitch just like we did before. So the same stitch we worked our slip stitch into, we're going to do a half double crochet. So that's our first one. Now we're going to do a half double crochet in the next stitch, and we'll do 2 half doubles in the next one. What this is doing is it will allow the crochet circle to increase at a regular rate, and so it will not cup on itself. It will be nice and flat, so that way, bring in the hat here, when this lays down, it will lay nice and round. It won't cup in like this. It'll lay nice and flat. You create all hats like this. You work in the round, going out, increasing exponentially. So right now, we're increasing with 1 stitch between each increase. The next round, we will increase with 2 stitches between each increase, and so on and so forth until the pattern tells us to stop. Go ahead and continue on in the pattern through round 7. Then you will complete 1 round even if you're doing the same size I am, or 2 rounds even if you're doing the size that's larger. Then it's time to change colors. Join me back here. I'm going to show you how to change colors. You're at the end of your round 7 plus your 1 extra row or 2 extra rows, and it's time to change colors. Look down here, I'm going to show you how to do that. Obviously, this little swatch isn't nearly the same size as what you're working with at this point in time, but it will do the job to show you how to change colors. I'm at the end of my round and it's time for me to join with a slip stitch. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and insert my hook where it needs to go, but instead of yarning over with my green color to pull through, I'm going to yarn over with my striping color. So I'm going to choose pink. So I'm just holding on to the pink tails. Can you see that? Yarning over my hook with my pink, pull that through just like I normally would have done with the green, and then pull that through the last loop that was on my hook. What that does, as I move my stitch marker out of the way, it allows me to have the pink color on my hook ready to work, and then I don't have any sort of color bleed in the row or the round before that, but I'm ready to start working with my pink yarn. I would go ahead and carry on working with my color B, and I would chain 2 and then go ahead and do my half double crochets in the pattern as stated. I'm going to set this aside because I've gone ahead and here's what you're probably looking at. You're looking at something like this, where it's nice and big, and then I have joined at this point where I changed the color, my pink, my blue, color B, that's what we're calling it, color B. I worked all the way around, and then I joined and I worked my second round of color B. I'm almost worked my second round of color B, so I'm going to go ahead and finish up my second round because I will show you one more time how to change colors back to green. Now, there are some times when it will be efficient to just carry up the green color or carry up the pink color. I am going to choose not to carry up the colors. I'm going to cut the yarn and actually weave in those ends, and I'm going to show you how to do that too. I got one more stitch I need to do, and then I'm going to join again with a slip stitch. So I'm going into my stitch, and instead of yarning over with my pink, I'm going to go ahead, I got to snip some green yarn right here that I was using before. I'm going to grab my green and holding the tail of the green next to the pink yarn, I'm going to yarn over with the green, pull that through the stitch that I'm slipping into, and then pull the green through the pink. So now I have the green loop on my hook ready to go. My pink is undisturbed, and I can go ahead and carry on in my pattern. So I would chain 2 and go ahead and do my half double crochets all the way around. If I go ahead and set this aside, let's bring in the actual sample. So far you've learned how to work single crochets into a chain stitch, increase exponentially with half double crochets, working 2 half double crochets into each stitch when indicated with a number of stitches between. So on one round it's 1 stitch, the next round is 2 stitches, the next round it's 3 stitches, so on and so forth, until you reach the size that the pattern told you that you didn't have to do increases anymore. Once you did that, you did either 1 row or 2 rows of just regular plain rounds with no increases. Then we learned how to change colors, work 2 rounds of that alternate color, change colors again to get back to our main color. You'll work as many rounds as it states in the pattern with color A again, switch back to color B, switch back to color A, and finish off with color B. You finish off the complete round just by doing a slip stitch join into the beginning. So right here is the end of the round right here, and it's going to join with a slip stitch. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I've gone ahead and pulled back in my sample here where I was showing you how to change colors with the stripes, but this time I'm going to show you how to actually finish off. So we're going to pretend that this is the end of my hat, okay? If this was the very last round of my hat, I would go ahead, go into the stitch that I want to join with the slip stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull that loop through, and I would go ahead and I would cut my yarn, and you have a choice here. You can either yarn over one more time and pull through, okay, that will create a knot, or if we're just right here, instead of doing the yarn over, just pull that up, that creates a nice little snug bit. Now it's important at this point we weave in our tail, so I'm going to show you how to do that. I've just grabbed a regular old plastic darning needle, and I'm going to thread the yarn onto the plastic darning needle or yarn needle. I'm threading it through, and you always want to tuck in your tails on the inside or the wrong side of whatever you're making. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my needle, I'm going to stick it right through that stitch. So if I'm looking at the top of the stitch where this V is, I've put my needle right through it, and I'm going to pull that in. Now that my yarn is on the inside of my hat, I can go ahead and, following along these stitches here that are created, I'm just going to tuck my needle down through those stitches. I have my hand over here making sure nothing's coming over here on the right side, and I will pull that needle through just like that. Now I'll come back and I will go in the reverse direction. So I've come through both legs here of this particular stitch. I'm going to come back through, making sure I'm skipping one of those legs so I don't just undo the work I've done before, and pull it back. Look at that. The reason I go down and back the opposite direction is that really weaves in that tail, so it's not going to go anywhere. You'll do the same thing with all the other tails you have of yarn that you've cut every time you've changed colors, and you'll do that for the top of your hat with this tail, okay? You'll just weave it right into the stitches that you have up there, and then you are done. That's it. You're done. You know everything you need to know in order to make this super great slouchy unisex striped hat. Say that 3 times fast. Don't forget, this is a free pattern over on redheart.com, and this is part of the My First with Marley Bird series. You can stay up to date whenever I release a new video by hitting subscribe to the Marley Bird YouTube channel. And if you like this video, please don't forget to smash that like button, as my kids say. I'm Marley Bird, proud spokesperson for Red Heart Yarns. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.